Zack Eflin heading to the Orioles. If you did watch my video, you knew that I'm a fan of this move. I like this move overall for the Baltimore Orioles. We all know they needed to add some starting pitching. They did just that. What I like about Zack Eflin is he's a guy that's going to just bring some steadiness to this rotation. A guy that's going to just pound the strike zone. He's going to throw a lot of strikes. He's second in walks per 9 on the year, only behind George Kirby as of right now. So yeah, you're going to get a guy that's pretty dependable. He was just pitching in a World Series a couple of years ago for the Phillies against the Astros. So he's a proven postseason guy. He can handle the spotlight. I like it for the Orioles, man. When you got a guy like Corbin Burnes at the top and you got Zack Eflin right behind him, I'm pretty confident in that, right? Yeah. Tarek Skubal, he's been the juicy name on the market for this trade deadline so far. Who knows if he ends up getting moved? I will touch on him in just a little bit. But I think out of all the guys out there, I do like this for Baltimore, right? He's not the flashiest of names, but he's going to be a guy that goes out there. He's going to compete. He's going to give you a solid performance. So overall, I like it. And what I do like about it, I didn't mention this in the video that I did earlier, but what I do like is that Baltimore has a starter for next year. They have someone that you know is going to be in your rotation, is going to give you a good amount of starts next year. And that's big because we don't know what's going to happen with Corbin Burnes. What we do know that's going to happen with Mr. Burnes is he's going to get himself a fat payday. So the question is, will Baltimore meet that asking price? Will they even want to meet that asking price? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But what we do know is Eflin will be penciled into the rotation for next year. So that's some good insurance at the end of the day. I think that was very smart for Baltimore to do. I think whoever they added, to me, yeah, people have been talking about Jack Flaherty maybe going back. Maybe you could go get Yusei Kikuchi in the division. To me, those are rental guys, right? I think for Baltimore, the best thing, did Aaron Judge just hit a bomb of a home run? Ugh, did that just happen, please? But I think the Orioles needed to add a club-controlled guy, someone that you have for next year, or at least for the next couple of years, right? So good on Baltimore. I like that aspect of it. Do they continue to add? We'll have to wait and see, right? But for the Rays' point of view, I did like this. They did get a few prospects in this deal. Mac Horvath, sorry. That one, I was trying to say that earlier, and I kept messing it up, and I was like, oh my goodness, like that. I don't know why. It's like a tongue twister, at least to me. Horvath. But this is a guy that has a good amount of pop, right? He was at North Carolina not too long ago. Hit really well there. This is a guy that he's got a bit of an uppercut swing that can kind of get him into a bit of trouble, but there is some power upside there. He's a good athlete. He can move around in the infield. This is exactly the kind of player that the Rays like to add. They got a couple more here. They got Jackson Baumeister, a big guy, exactly the kind of a pitcher that the Rays like to go for. 6'4", so big frame already. Big fastball, has a curveball to go along with it, with a slider. Changed up according to the scouting report. Could use a little work. Yeah, could throw a few more strikes, but we know with the Rays at the end of the day, they do pretty well with the pitchers in their system. So there's a highly projectable guy right there. And then there was another guy here. He's not in the top 30 on Pipeline, but he is in the top 30 on Baseball America, and that's Matthew Etzel. I didn't touch on him too much in the video that I did earlier, but kind of just to break him down a little bit more. What you're getting here is more of like a slap ball kind of a hitter, right? A guy that's just he's not going to give you a ton of pop. He's going to give you an okay bat, but not a highly projectable bat. What he will do is he'll put the ball in play, and then he uses the speed at his advantage. As you can see here this year between high A and double A, he's got 41 stolen bases as of right now. So, we'll see. Maybe the Rays can get a bit more out of him. They've done that in the past, right? He seems, at least in my opinion as of right now, seems like a pesky kind of a hitter at the end of the day. We'll see, right? But in the end, the Rays, they get a few projectable guys here. That's what the Rays like to do. And when you think of it from the Rays' point of view, right, obviously the whole thing with Wander Franco happened in the offseason. that was something that kind of came out of left field for them, and that really set them back. And then they traded, Tyler Glasnow in the offseason. It felt like a season that just wasn't in the cards for the Rays this year. So in the end, I like that they're adding some guys with upside here. Some guys, they needed to start kind of replenishing that farm a little bit, right? So in the end, even go back to the offseason, right? They traded Glasnow, brought in Pepio, a guy that's under a lot of control. So I like what the Rays are doing. I like the approach that they're taking here. Real quick, everyone, I just have to fix one quick thing here. If you can, while I'm fixing that, just hit that like button for me. The goal for tonight is 200. If you can help us get there, I will love you forever. And okay, I think I just fixed what I needed to do. Okay, here we go. So let's move on here and let's backtrack a little further. Let's go to Randy Arozarena from this past night. Hey, I'm thinking when I woke up today, I'm like, when did this happen? Like, did I just miss this before I fell asleep last night? No, happened, kind of in the wee hours of the day. But taking a look here at the trade, and we'll get to, you know what? Okay, yeah, we'll touch on Randy Arozarena really quick, but here we go, and then I'll get to the Austin Hayes Phillies trade here in just a second. So taking a look here, Randy Arozarena, again, I made a video on this. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But I like it, right? Randy got off to a cold start this year, and but so you're thinking like, oh man, what's going on with Randy this year, man? He was just striking out a ton. He wasn't really able to do any kind of damage at all. He was really struggling. Has turned it around over the last month or so. He is hitting a lot better. Back to getting on base. Still showing that power throughout the year, despite that cold streak that he was on at the beginning of the year, and still showing the speed that we know he has. So in the end, I'm glad that the Mariners did something. I think it's okay, right, from the Mariners' point of view. At the end of the day, right, we all know what Randy can do. This is a guy that's done a lot in the last few years, especially in the postseason, right? He's a guy that he's going to be a productive player for you no matter what. For the Mariners, I was kind of hoping they would go for a guy that doesn't strike out as much, right? Strikeouts are obviously a problem with the Mariners, and here they are, adding a guy that, sure, yes, he gets on base, right? He has good plate discipline up there, but still, there are a few strikeouts with Randy Arozarena, and especially this year, he is striking out quite a bit. So, we'll see. I actually saw something that was pretty interesting. I don't know when Teoscar Hernandez said this, but I'm just going to throw this in there because I thought it was really interesting. He was saying that there was something with the batter's eye at T-Mobile Park that, he felt like it was kind of throwing him off a little bit. It's very interesting when you go look at the home and road splits with some guys on the Mariners, like Julio Rodriguez. He tends to hit better away. It's funny how there's a few guys that, with the Mariners, they tend to do better on the road. It's really interesting, right? But let's see what goes, let's see what happens here with Arozarena, right? At the end of the day, it's a guy that's going to be productive for you, or at least should be productive for you. And I think it was good timing as well, because you started to see some other teams, hop into the rumor mill. The Dodgers were coming alive here for Randy Arozarena in the last couple of days. So the Mariners, I think they did this at the right time, right? They needed to get as much as they could for him, especially considering the cold start that he had. They sold high on this hot streak, right? And he's a guy that has a couple of years of control. So, good for the Mariners overall. I hope it works out for them because they really need that lineup to get going here. Great pitching, as we all know, but they need something in the second half. So we'll just have to see. Again, I was hoping they would get someone, that limits the strikeouts a little bit, someone that could also maybe even bring a little bit of speed to the lineup as well. A guy that maybe makes a bit more contact, someone that can kind of just get things going a little bit, right? I was hoping for maybe someone like a Nico Horner, someone like that. I think they could still add someone. We'll see. But the question is, will Randy Arozarena fix this lineup? at the end of the day. I see a lot of people out there saying this is not going to be enough. The problems are more deep-rooted than, just what we see on the surface. This could be an organization, philosophical kind of a thing. We'll see. Maybe he can help alleviate things. Let's see if he can help take some pressure off these other guys in the lineup a little bit. And then, J-Rod and J.P. Crawford, when they come back, you could end up maybe having something. What we do know that Arozarena will bring to this team, he'll bring some energy, he'll bring some life to this team at the end of the day. So I'm excited to see how this ends up going. And then going back to the Rays, we just talked about the package they got with Eflin. They got Aiden Smith and Brody Hopkins here. I think that's a good return. Aiden Smith having a good year down in the minor leagues, a guy with some upside there, a pretty balanced hitter overall for the most part, but a good athlete, has some speed there. I'm excited about that. As a Red Sox fan, I'm hoping this guy doesn't turn into, someone that's going to just ruin all my hopes and dreams down the road. We'll see. But we got Brody Hopkins as well. Again, another highly projectable guy on the mound. He's having a pretty good year this year. So I think the Rays are doing pretty well this year, replenishing that, or doing well today at this year's trade deadline, and they're replenishing that farm system a little bit. So we'll have to wait and see. Jack M, $2 super chat. Hey Robbie, Yandy is the next move for my Mariners. I think Yandy would be a nice addition. Again, a guy that can get on base, a guy that doesn't strike out too much. I think that would be a nice addition. I hope the Mariners are not done. I hope they add one more guy. We'll see. I wonder if Yandy came up in these talks at all. I don't know. I always wonder when a team makes a trade with another team, I feel like you don't ever see them come back together so quickly. Who knows? Maybe it could happen, but I hope the Mariners add another bat here. But let's move on here. We have caught up on the two big trades, but we also had another one here today. Let's get back to the Orioles real quick. And we actually had the Orioles and the Phillies come together, two teams that could end up meeting in the World Series here. And Austin Hayes, this is a guy that's been pretty productive for the Orioles for a while. I feel like he's been with Baltimore for so long now. It feels like forever at this point, right? But Austin Hayes heading to the Phillies, I like this move a lot, right? When I was thinking of the Phillies, I was thinking, okay, right-handed bat, someone that can hit lefties pretty well, right? Brandon Marsh has had his struggles against lefties this year. So I'm thinking, guys like Taylor Ward could make some sense, right? Lane Thomas could make some sense. Mark Hanna could make some sense. In the end, I kind of wasn't expecting Austin Hayes at the end of the day, but here it is. I like it a lot. Austin Hayes, when you take a look at the overall numbers, nothing crazy, hitting 255, the 316 on base, 395 on the slugging, a 103 WRC plus. But you're looking at the splits with Austin Hayes, right? So when you take a look here at his lefty-righty splits, he's hitting so much better against lefties. He's hitting 328 against lefties this year, over 64 ABs. When you take a look at the more advanced numbers here, a 154 WRC plus against lefties, not really much against righties. So, yeah, you're getting the classic platoon here. It'll be him. It'll be Brandon Marsh with the Phillies. I like it. I think it's a pretty solid move. And then when you look at it from the Orioles' point of view, they're beefing up the middle of their bullpen. Sir Anthony Dominguez, he's a guy that's, he's going to come in here, he's going to throw pretty hard for you. He's going to be a guy that I think could help lift up middle relief for them, right? Not amazing numbers on the year. ERA at a 4.75, FIP at a 4.26. The xFIP is a little bit lower at 3.99. The expected ERA is at a 3.25. You're getting 10 strikeouts per 9. You're getting 3 walks per 9. He's just getting bit by the home run ball this year. So I think, if they can limit those home runs there, that could end up being a nice addition for Baltimore. We'll see. But, Baltimore, a little deeper there, right, in left field. So let's see if maybe, that ballpark can end up helping him out a little bit. We'll see. But in the end, I like that they're beefing up the bullpen. And, I feel like, in hindsight, yeah, someone like Austin Hayes was kind of expendable at this point. The question is, what happens with Cedric Mullins here? I'm very interested to see what this could mean, because they also got Christian Pache in this deal. I find that very interesting. We know Christian Pache can go out there and play some good defense out in the outfield, right? Center fielder, right? This guy, when he was coming up through the minors, he was one of the top prospects in baseball. Everyone was just gushing over the glove with Pache. So my question is that now that he's with Baltimore, what could this maybe mean for Cedric Mullins here? This guy's having a down year, right? We all know this. He's been a little bit productive as of late, but I feel like right now, Baltimore, when you're looking at someone like a Heston Kjerstad here, they're trying to get this guy some playing time. Colton Cowser, he's had some experience out there in center field, so he can just take over there. And then in right field, you got Santander, of course. So the question is, I wonder if you could see something happen with Cedric Mullins, or do they just keep him as another outfielder on the bench? Very curious, right? I'm waiting to see if something happens there. His name has popped up in the rumor mill. We know the Orioles, they got a lot of position players, right? So if they traded away Cedric Mullins, they could bring someone up, or whatever it may be. We'll have to just wait and see at the end of the day. But keep your eyes on Cedric Mullins, that now that Christian Pache is on the team. So let's move on here. Let's move on. And taking a look at our juicy story for the night. This one kind of came out of nowhere, but I'm not surprised about it at the end of the day. And, actually, one more quick thing in case you missed it. The Mariners also got Yimi Garcia, a good addition for the bullpen. Now, again, getting back to the Mariners, I like what the Mariners are doing right now, right? They're showing some urgency. They're making some moves. And, hey, doesn't hurt adding a good reliever like Yimi Garcia. But one more time, I hope they add another bat somewhere. Now, let's get to the juicy stories, shall we? This one is very interesting. I am very curious about what is going on here. Blake Snell drawing trade interest. I thought we were done talking about Blake Snell. If you were with me throughout the offseason, we talked about Blake Snell. It felt like pretty much every day before the regular season started. This guy took forever to sign. Not saying it was completely on him, right? He had the Scott Boras problem there, right? You saw Jordan Montgomery. He switched agencies at the end of the day. But Blake Snell, he was a late signing. Went to the Giants. We all liked the move when it happened, but then you saw what happened with Blake Snell after he got the late start there. He came back. He was terrible. He earned the nickname. There it is in the chat. Daniel Barnes, Blake Smell, right? Earned the nickname. I wonder if he ever saw this nickname. Listen. No hard feelings against Blake Snell, but my goodness, it was bad, right? It was bad. He was putting up some pretty terrible numbers. Overall, so far, has an ERA of a 5.83. But take notice of the FIP, everyone, a 3.94. Take notice of that. Now, if you go see how he's been pitching as of late, right? He came back this month. He ended up missing a little bit of time, had some problems with the groin yet again. Look at how bad these starts were, right? Gave up 7 runs against the Rays, 5 against the D-backs, 4 against the Pirates. He didn't make it to the 5th inning or through 5 innings in any of his starts through June 2nd. That's crazy, right? And then he finally got a full 5 innings in his first start back against Toronto. Pitched pretty well there. Then he pitched against the Twins, 7 shutout innings. Then he pitched against the Dodgers, a few days ago? Hey, gave up a couple of runs, but in the end, pitched pretty well over 6 innings. It looks like Blake Snell is starting to get on a groove. We know Blake Snell has pitched well in the second half. If you take a look at his second half numbers in his career, he has a 2.53 ERA compared to a 3.95 ERA. So he's a second half kind of a guy. And with how the Giants are right now, you got to be wondering, it's crazy where the Giants are. I'm thinking, okay, they stand pat. They try to make a run in the second half, right? They did all this work in the offseason. Why blow this up now? Why, just go crazy and sell, right? But when you're, 5 games out here, all right, Ceddanne Rafaela with his 12th home run of the season. It is 7-6 now. Come on, Boston, we need this. Blake Snell, with where the Giants are right now, you got to think, maybe it might make some sense to trade him off, right? You got to remember, though, when it comes to Snell, he's owed a lot of money, right? He's making $32 million this year. He has a player option for $30 million next year that I imagine he's going to exercise at this point, unless he pitches just dynamite in the second half here. And maybe he opts out looking for a longer contract. I think he could go either way. I think it really depends on how well he pitches in the second half. If he does, if he just goes crazy here, then yeah, I could see him opting out, turning down the player option, hitting the market yet again, maybe looking for at least a 3-year kind of a deal. We'll see. Or maybe he just wants to, maybe opts back in for next year, wants to show everyone that he can pitch a full season. At the end of the day, $30 million is $30 million. That's not that bad. Now, a lot of people might be thinking, well, why would he opt out? It's $30 million. Well, if he can get more guaranteed money over a longer period of time, then yeah, I could see him doing that. It's going to be interesting to see what he does if he pitches well in the second half. Now, I got a couple of teams here. If the Giants do indeed trade Mr. Snell, all right, you got to think here, right? Now that Eflin's off the board, I mean, I think this could be realistic at the end of the day. And I got 2 teams that I think, I'll go 3. I'll go 3 teams. The third one is a big maybe, right? But I got 2 teams that I like for Blake Snell. That's not the right link. I like the Houston Astros. I do like the Astros, right? They were connected with Blake Snell in the offseason. Remember that rumor came around? Like they were hot on his tail. Who was reporting that? I think it was Rosenthal. I can't remember. My potato brain can't go back that far. But all of a sudden, like the Astros came out of nowhere for Snell, and then it looked like the price tag was a little too high. But the Astros right now, right? Who knows what's going on with Lance McCullers Jr.? I thought he was going to be coming back here, but I guess he had a setback in the last couple of weeks or so. So who knows if he ends up coming back this year? I believe Verlander is still trying to get his way back. I think he was having a bit of a neck issue a little bit ago. I would expect that he's going to be back at some point. Either way, even if he does come back, you could still make the argument to maybe go after Snell here, really take advantage of that, the second half performance that we're used to seeing with Blake Snell. I would love this for the Houston Astros, especially with how hot they've gotten, and I think this would be a pretty good counter move if you're just looking at what the Mariners did, right? Those two, I think, are going to be neck and neck going until the very end of the year. I think this would be a really nice addition for the Astros. And what I like about this addition is the Astros probably won't have to give up a lot when it comes to prospects. And the Astros farm system, it ranks a little bit towards the bottom as of right now, according to Baseball America. So, they don't have a lot of prospects, but I kind of look at this as maybe sort of like that Justin Verlander situation where, yeah, the Mets, they did pay a lot of that money. And so the Astros ended up sending back a couple of pieces. But in this case, maybe the Astros just take on the money for the rest of the year. Maybe they're comfortable taking on that, the possible player option for next year. And I think this could be a really nice upgrade for Houston's rotation. And, if we were to just kind of put together a bit of a mock trade, I got one right here. If the Astros took on the rest of the salary, maybe you could do someone like a Colton Gordon. That is their number 8 prospect as of right now. That's a lefty in their system. And then I got one more. That's a Limber Santa. I'm probably botching that. I apologize if I am. As of right now, he is the number 24 prospect in their system. He has a bit of a Marcus Stroman kind of a build, a bigger Marcus Stroman at the end of the day. He's got a big fastball, has a curveball slider to go along with it. Seems like he has some trouble with the walks when it comes to the numbers down in the minor leagues. He's not really having a lot of success down there, but there is projection, so maybe that's something the Giants could like. I don't know. Either way, I'm just kind of putting these two guys because when it comes to value, right, Colton Gordon is an interesting pitching prospect because he's got a projectable frame. He's 6'4", 225. But when you just look at the numbers for the last couple of years, just hasn't fully been able to put it together. A guy that has pretty decent velocity from the left side. He has a few other pitches, but he does throw a lot of strikes. So I feel like he's one tinkering away from maybe taking it to the next level. But that's also an argument for the Astros to hang on to him, right? But if you really wanted to land a guy like Snell, who can pitch well in the second half, and maybe you could end up having him for next year too. Maybe this could be a good gamble for the Astros, and Snell could be a nice addition. Another team that I think would benefit from a good second half, and someone that can pitch in the postseason for you as well, I like the St. Louis Cardinals. Right? I was thinking Zack Eflin was going to be a guy for the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm thinking, all right, a guy throws a ton of strikes, a guy that doesn't walk a whole lot of guys, Mr. Dependable. That's how I look at Zack Eflin. A guy that's going to go out there and make his starts, and he's going to pitch well, keep you in the game. Sounds like a St. Louis Cardinal, if you ask me. And to me, I feel like that would have been a nice 1-2 punch with Gray and Eflin, but now you don't got Eflin anymore. So, and I'm also looking here, you don't got one lefty in this rotation. Sonny Gray, Blake Snell starting games 1 and 2. That sounds pretty fun. Cardinals fans, let me know. What do you think? Would you go after Blake Snell? Would you, because they were connected with him a little bit in the offseason. That did pop up a couple of times, I believe earlier in the offseason. But hey, this could be a nice upgrade. And remember, Chaim Bloom is with the Cardinals, has that connection with Blake Snell from the days with the Rays. Maybe that could be something. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I would like this for the Cardinals. And again, you wouldn't have to give up a whole lot to acquire him. I'm maybe even going a little too much here, but I'm just pointing out that maybe you could give a couple of guys that aren't even in your top 10. I put Sam Roberts and Adam Kloffenstein. That's number 13 and 16 on pipeline at least. So, a couple of mid-range prospects that maybe you could send back to the Giants to get a deal done. All right. I like the idea of the Cardinals. I like the idea of the Astros. Another team. Now, this is a wild card for me. I just don't know. It's because of the money. I think Cleveland could be pretty fun. I would love this. If the Guardians did something like this, this would be awesome. I just don't know if they would add the money. That's the only thing. If there was a club option, I could see it more. But I don't know if Cleveland's going to, if he opts back in for the $30 million in the offseason. I don't know. Does Cleveland do that? I don't know, right? I think you could see them being okay with paying his salary for the rest of the year, especially considering what he has done down the stretch in his career. Maybe Cleveland would be okay with that. I don't know, man. It's just that player option. Again, I would love if the Guardians did this, right? It would be just a big name, a guy that, man, I really want the Guardians to make a big move, right? I don't know. I see in the chat, the Finesse Kid, what do you think the Twins should do? Could the Twins be an option for Blake Snell, right? They have been looking for more rental starting pitchers at the end of the day, so we'll see. But if I'm thinking of other teams right now, I don't know if the Dodgers go for Snell at this point. I know the Mariners were connected with him a lot in the offseason. I don't think that's not the Mariners' priority right now. I'm looking at other teams, right? Baltimore, they just added Eflin, so I don't think they do that. Maybe Milwaukee. Again, it's the money. Would Milwaukee be okay with adding that? We'll talk about Milwaukee with another thing here in a little bit. But kind of the same situation, right? It comes down to the money. Maybe the Brewers could do something there. I think that could be pretty fun. But if I'm looking at other teams right now, I don't know. Would the Padres want a reunion? Would they do that? I don't think so. I don't think that would happen. I would love the Cardinals. I would love the Astros. Maybe the Guardians. Maybe the Twins. We'll see. We'll see. What did John Heyman just say about Blake Snell? John Heyman is tweeting about Blake Snell. What did he just say? What is he saying? That would be good time. Here we go. Okay, we got a little something here. Here we go. Let me actually pull up John Heyman here. We got a little something on Blake Snell. Just tweeted about, 5 minutes ago? He says here, John Heyman says, 5 teams said to have some level of interest in Blake Snell, who's looking better and historically a second-half pitcher. The $30 million 2025 player option, though, makes it tricky. Is John Heyman watching the show? Is he watching the show right now? Listen, I'm not trying to start something. I'm not trying to stir the pot, but is he watching the show? Because I swear I've been saying this for the last 5 minutes. John, are you out there? You out there, John? I'm watching you, John. Giants are listening on select players, mainly guys with expiring contracts. So, yeah, I just named 4, right? I would imagine the Astros and the Cardinals are in that mix. Guardians would be fun. Twins would be fun. We'll see. We'll see. Who could that 5th team be? I'm trying to think. Who could be team number 5 for Blake Snell? I would think, I don't know, maybe the Dodgers. I'm just trying to think, maybe would the Red Sox do it? Would the Red Sox were connected with Blake Snell a little bit this offseason. Would the Red Sox do it? They have said they would be open to taking on some payroll. I don't know. I don't think the Red Sox would do it. Then I don't know. I don't think they would. That's interesting. Who could that 5th team be? I don't think the D-backs would do it. I mean, they got starting pitching coming back. Would the Yankees? They wanted Blake Snell in the offseason. Could the Yankees maybe? I think that's possible. I'll go those teams. I'll go Houston. I'll go St. Louis. Maybe Cleveland. Maybe Milwaukee. Maybe the Twins. Maybe the Red Sox. Was that 5 already? So 6 teams. Maybe the Yankees. I'll go those 6. But I see you, Sarah Gomez. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. They need more bats and relievers. I'm just thinking of the Yankees, right? But only because they were connected with him in the offseason and they offered him a contract, right? That's the only reason I'm even thinking of the Yankees right now. Could the Yankees maybe do something where if they added Snell, maybe Cortez could go into like a swingman kind of a role. He's been pretty good this year. I feel like he just got knocked around. Let's move on here. Let's get away from Blake Snell. And let's move on to a couple other stories here. We're going to try and get things wrapped up here in the next 15 minutes. We're going to go a bit rapid fire on some of these next stories here. I just mentioned the Milwaukee Brewers. Just mentioned the good old Brew Crew. Where are my Brewers fans in here? They've been coming after me for the past month or so in power rankings. Brewers fans, I'm here for you. Let's talk about what the Brewers can do. Well, according to Ken Rosenthal today in his article in The Athletic, the Brewers are seeking a left-handed bat, right? Christian Yelich, unfortunately, having some issues with the back. It was looking like, maybe he was going to undergo surgery, but he's going to attempt some non-surgical rehab on the back. We'll see how that goes, right? I've had my fair share of back issues in the past. Maybe in the next month or so, he works on those glutes a little bit. He gets some stuff strengthened up in the core, and maybe he's feeling pretty good, in a few weeks, 4 weeks or so. It can happen. It can happen. But then it is expected that he is looking to get surgery in the offseason. So either way, though, the Brewers are looking for a left-handed bat. And I've been seeing some rumors swirling about Garrett Mitchell. And I'm seeing him as a possible piece. I've been seeing outlets out there mentioning him as a possible trade chip. He was their first-round pick in 2020. He's had his fair share of injuries, right? He came up a couple of years ago and he was hitting really well. He was hitting 311, had a 373 on base, slugging at the 459. He was stealing bases. He was looking like a pretty electric player for the most part. And, he just was dealing with a lot of injuries. He only played, 19 games last year. This year he's only played 15 games. So they could be looking for an upgrade here, right? If we take a look, I was just speculating about the Brewers the other night and, looking more at this lineup, right? Now, you have, as of right now, because of Yelich being hurt, Garrett Mitchell in center field. Could you maybe upgrade center field, right? And then when Yelich comes back, you just kind of figure it out from there, right? If he comes back. So what I could see, and I'm kind of thinking on the fly here, if you upgraded center field, right, and then Yelich came back, I would probably slide Yelich in at DH. I would probably try to keep him off his feet as much as possible. I would just have the bat in there, right? So Rhys Hoskins, I would think, you could. How much first base has Rhys Hoskins played this year? Has he played? He's played a fair amount of first base this year, right? Jake Bauers, he's been the lefty option there. So, maybe Bauers can just be that left-handed hitter that, comes off the bench, right? And then you just have Rhys Hoskins as the first baseman and Christian Yelich is your DH, right? But if you were to upgrade this lineup, a guy like Garrett Mitchell could make some sense to trade, right? I mean, if you think about Garrett Mitchell, he's got tons more control left. He's not a free agent until after 2028. There's still some upside with Garrett Mitchell, all right? This is a guy that's very athletic, right? Very fast, and we just saw what he could do a couple of years ago. He just has to stay healthy. Now, if you were to use him as a trade piece to maybe help you upgrade center field, everyone, I got an idea for you. I got something. I know a lot of people are going to hate this. Brewers fans, I guarantee Brewers fans, most of them at least, are going to yell at me for this. They're going to hate me for this. But hear me out. How about, I think you know where I'm going with this. Do you know where I'm going with this? How about Jazz Chisholm? I mean, look, you're looking for a bit more power, right? You're looking for a bit more impact with the bat, right? He's got 13 home runs on the year. He's going to give you some speed. He can also play some second base, so he's got that versatility there as well. I mean, I don't know. I could see a lot of Brewers fans simply saying, nah, let's stick with Garrett Mitchell. But here's my argument for Jazz, right? He's about to go into some prime years for the next couple of years. Now, with Jazz, when it comes to his projections for the next couple of years, 2025, he's projected for a 2.5 F-WAR, and then again in 2026. Now, Garrett Mitchell, yeah, sure, he could definitely maybe do some things, but, the injuries have been holding him back a little bit. Maybe Miami feels like, all right, maybe he could be a part of a package. And maybe we could see if we can tap into some potential with Garrett Mitchell. He is projected for a 1.1 in 25 and then a 0.9 in 26. So I came up with an idea. And again, I'm probably going to get wrecked for this one. I am probably going to get destroyed for this one by... I think Jazz Chisholm could be a possible piece for Milwaukee if they wanted to get an upgrade in center field. And who knows, if Christian Yelich doesn't end up coming back this year, at least you have someone like Jazz in your lineup. It would be a pretty hefty price, but this is why I've also included Tanner Scott in here as well to kind of, no pun intended, to jazz it up a little bit, right? Maybe Tanner Scott could be a nice addition for the bullpen, and then you get Devin Williams back here, and then you got yourself a pretty nasty back end of the bullpen. You got Jazz, who at this point has been dependable for pretty much all of this year, hasn't really had any issues with the health. You would have him for a couple more seasons for his prime years. And yeah, you're having to give up Garrett Mitchell there, who has been a question mark with his health in recent years. And then you got Jefferson Cuero, who is blocked in the system. Now, I guarantee you're going to see someone, they're going to leave a comment and they're going to say, well, one of those guys maybe could move to first base. That could definitely happen. I could see something like that. I'm just thinking more about the aspect of, you got William Contreras there. He's going to be there for the long haul, right? He's there for another 5 more years after this. He's got another 4 more seasons of the control. He's been very good. He's one of the best players in the game. So Jefferson Cuero, he recently just came back from shoulder injury not too long ago. I believe he had a torn labrum in his shoulder, but he's good to go now. And the Marlins could use a catcher, right? So, or maybe, if you didn't want to do Cuero, maybe you could put some other pieces in here. I do think Jazz could be a nice fit for Milwaukee. If not Jazz, I think you could maybe do, something like a guy with versatility, someone like a Luis Rengifo. I think MLB trade rumors, they did mention maybe someone like Brandon Lau, but I don't know. I'm thinking when it comes to second base, right? You got Bryce Terang there. So I think if you're going to upgrade somewhere, I would think you maybe want to upgrade center field. Get a guy that is going to be dependable. I see you in the chat. WGW Network. How about Luis Robert? Could you do Luis Robert for Milwaukee? Now, I think if you did that, yeah, you're going to have to give up Jefferson Cuero. I mean, let's do this here. Let's do this. Let's clear this trade. And hold on, I got to log back in here. I got signed out earlier when we lost internet connection. I got to make sure that internet connection is nice and strong for Tuesday when we go live for the deadline. But yeah, you could definitely, for sure, do something for Luis Robert if you wanted to take on that money. I think that could be interesting, right? So let's set up the good old simulator here. Here we go. We got the Brewers. We got the White Sox. So here we go. Let's do Luis Robert to Milwaukee. You could do Garrett Mitchell there. Send him back to Chicago. Maybe you could do Tyler Black in there. Maybe put in another piece. Maybe you could do Jefferson Cuero, right? I know they got a couple of catchers there in the system now. They got the one catcher from the Angels last year. So, will they need a catcher? I don't know. But something to think about. But I think maybe the White Sox, if they threw in a couple more pieces here. Oh, man. Masataka Yoshida has just helped the Red Sox take the lead. Man, oh, man. You got to love it. You can't stop the Sox, everyone. You can't stop the Sox. But, maybe Milwaukee could be an option. But they're looking for a left-handed bat, right? So that's something to think about. Either way, I think Milwaukee is really interesting. Keep an eye on them for the deadline this year. Now, let's get to my Red Sox, right? Just brought up my Red Sox here. My Red Sox made a move today. James Paxton heading back to Boston, right? Paxton, when he came back last year, first couple of starts he was pitching really well. Everything was looking great, but then he faded down the stretch. And went to the Dodgers in the offseason, right? I thought that was a pretty good pickup. Hasn't fully, been what you thought he could be. People are thinking, all right, Dodgers, they're so good when it comes to bringing in some guys and maximizing their performance. I even saw memes out there comparing him, to Randy Johnson. That's how good the Dodgers can make him. But in the end, he's really underperformed. ERA at a 4.43, FIP at a 4.96. For the Red Sox, I was okay with it. I tweeted about it today. It's a little underwhelming if that's what it ends up being, if that's the move they make for this year's deadline. I don't know. you know, it's fine for depth. I'm okay with it. It gives them a lefty in the rotation. I also think it gives them some flexibility with someone like Cooper Criswell. I think you could put him in the bullpen, right? I think Cooper Criswell could end up being a really valuable piece if you moved him to the bullpen. Now, I know Eno Saris out there, he put out that maybe Paxton could be in long relief. Now, when it comes to Paxton, I just wonder, you know, him coming out of the bullpen, I don't know. I wonder if there's a bit of a, you know, he wants to be on a routine, on a starter routine, because he's had the health issues in the past. So maybe the bullpen isn't going to be something that he's all for. So I would think if Paxton goes into the rotation for the rest of the year, Cooper Criswell, he could slide into the bullpen. You know, he can come in multi-inning stints. I think Criswell could be a really nice piece in the pen, because they've also been having some injuries in this bullpen too. So I think that could give them a little bit of a lift. And if you needed him to start a game, that could work too. So in the end, I like it for depth. I just hope this is not the one move the Red Sox end up making. You know, yes, and we're getting some good news here tonight. The Red Sox, they just came through here. Let me actually pull the game back up here. Masataka Yoshida coming up in a big way in the bottom of the 8th. Gotta love it, man. Oh, man. Can't stop the Sox. But I do hope another move is on the way. I would not mind another starting pitcher here, to be completely honest. I just wonder, what do you do with the other guys? I feel like you would have a lot of starters at that point. So I'm wondering if a starting pitcher is going to be the way to go, unless I will say this. If maybe they moved someone like Nick Pivetta and they brought in someone like Jameson Taillon, right? Taillon is under control for the next couple of years because he's on a contract. Maybe they get something for Pivetta from another team, and then they wouldn't have to give up all that much for Jameson Taillon. Really, all they would be doing in that situation is taking on his contract, maybe give up a couple of, you know, mid-level guys. This is a situation where maybe you could send Nick York back to the Cubs, right? This is a guy that has roster risk at the moment. I know Red Sox fans love Nick Pivetta, but he is a free agent after this year. So this is a situation where you could sell and buy, right? You swap out Nick Pivetta, get a couple of prospects in return, and then you bring in Jameson Taillon, you take on that contract. Maybe. You know, could be something. I could see Breslow getting creative in that aspect. We'll have to wait and see on that. But I am expecting the Red Sox to do something else with the pitching staff, whether or not it's a starter or a reliever. I do think they will add a right-handed bat for first base. Tristan Casas is going to be back here eventually. Let's wait and see here how that ends up going. So I expect the Red Sox to make a couple of moves. I would like someone like a Mark Canha, someone that can play some first base. You know, you got an Andy Ibanez on the Tigers as well, a guy that can play some first, right? Having a pretty good year, hits lefties well. So that's what I'm thinking for the Red Sox. We'll have to wait and see there. We had one more. Speaking of a first baseman, we had Mr. Yandy Diaz in the news today, and I saw this one, and I'm thinking, the Rangers showing interest in Yandy Diaz. You know what this is, everyone? This is trying to drive up the price, right? You got the Rangers. They're starting to come back into it here. The Astros, they've already made their way back into it. The Astros could use a first baseman. The Mariners, they're looking to make more moves. I know they just made a trade, right, with the Rays, but maybe they've come together on trades so many times. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rays and the Mariners came back together and they figured out something for Yandy. What I think this is for the Rangers, I think they're trying to drive up that price a little bit. I think they're trying to get into it, and they're like, hey, we want Yandy too. We don't want the Astros and the Mariners to get him, but, when you're looking at first base already for the Rangers, you got Nate Lowe there. You got other bats here. Where would Yandy even play at this point? I don't even know where that's coming from. I think they're just trying to drive up that price. Keep an eye on this, though. I think Yandy is going to end up getting moved, right? He's on the restricted list at this point. He should be back. It seemed like it was an off the field issue, something I was reading, possibly family related. Hope everything's going okay there. But keep an eye on that. Mr. Yandy, I think, will end up getting moved. I mean, at this point, if you're the Rays, you've already moved Eflin. You've already moved Randy. You might as well just start moving these guys. Get Yandy out of there. Get Nate Lau, or not Nate Lau, get Brandon Lau out of there. Goodness gracious, there's so many Lows and Laus and whatever. But get rid of all these guys. There's no point. At this point, why hang on to Brandon Lau? Why hang on to Yandy Diaz? Any guys, if they got a couple more years of control, see you later, right? Get stuff back. Hey, we got a super chat here, $20 super chat from Skull TYA Ketch 84. Hey, Robbie, just got home. Love the show as always. Have you talked about the Twins yet? I did mention the Twins not too long ago. I don't think the Twins are going to be able to do it because now that I think about it, I feel like I've read somewhere when it comes to the Twins, maybe some payroll stuff could end up coming up, right? So I wonder if they would actually be a realistic option for Blake Snell. I don't know. I think that could be fun if they did something like that. But when it comes to the Twins, I haven't really seen all that much unless I missed something. Was there any story out there today? I know Royce Lewis just came back from the IL, so that's good. But I think for the Twins, I think they're just going to stick to looking for help in the rotation, right? Let me pull up the Twins. Why am I I can't see anything. There we go. So, got to think back, right? Sonny Gray, he left in the offseason. You've been rolling with Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan. They've been getting pretty good production for the most part. But I feel like, right, Simeon Woods Richardson, how many innings is he going to throw this year? I would like for them to get a veteran guy, someone to just be another dependable guy for them. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think they're going to make anything crazy. I don't think they're going to do anything nuts. I could see a Yusei Kikuchi, right? I know that's probably a name Twins fans are just so sick of hearing at this point because it's just such an obvious fit. Someone at that level, look out for that. So the Twins, I do expect to be kind of busy though, right? Thank you for that. I really appreciate that, my friend. $20 super chat. Greatly appreciated. Comman752, $10 super chat. F. Kimbrell and F. Hyde. I hope you don't mean me for thinking putting him out there the day after giving up 3 runs would be a good idea. Elias should get rid of Hyde because he doesn't know how to manage and get us a new closer. I got the man for you. Man. Let's go get Mason Miller. I know that dude just broke his hand or whatever it was, but go get yourself Mason Miller. Have him put the cast on him while he's on the mound, and you're good to go. I think that would be awesome. It's funny because I was going to talk about Tarek Skubal here, but, I do want to throw this out there as a closing statement for tonight. Now that the Orioles have gotten Zack Eflin, what does this mean for Skubal? Now, another bright side about the Orioles acquiring Zack Eflin is that they didn't have to give up any top prospects to get the deal done. Does that mean they're also saving some bullets for Tarek Skubal? Maybe. Or does that take them out of it? I would imagine it probably takes them out of it. Are the Tigers even in it at this point? What are they even thinking? They probably have no desire to move him. And the only way they move him is if they get blown away. But could you maybe see the Orioles do something nuts here? They just got Eflin for, a few mid-range, lower-level 15 or anywhere from 10 to 30 in their prospects, right? They got a deal done for a dependable guy like that. If you did Skubal, you would have Skubal and Eflin in your rotation for next year. That's not bad. I wonder if they're out here on him. I would not close the door on it. I'm not going to give up hope on that. However, you would have to think maybe they're not into it, right? Maybe the Tigers, because it's also the Tigers' point of view. If the Tigers don't do it, then, there's a lot of arguments for the Tigers keeping Mr. Tarek Skubal, right? They want to compete in the next couple of years. Now, if the Orioles are out of it, and then you got this whole thing with Garrett Crochet going on saying he wants a contract extension, right? If you want him to pitch in the playoffs, I mean, it's possible Garrett Crochet just took himself off the market. Well, if Skubal, if that's not a possibility with the Orioles and Crochet's not an option, I wonder about the Dodgers at this point. Could the Dodgers call up the Tigers and they say, hey, listen, we know you want to compete next year, but we really want Skubal. If we gave you Bobby Miller, Dalton Rushing, River Ryan, give you another piece, maybe throw in one more piece, will you do it? If they send back someone like Bobby Miller, if they gave them a piece for their rotation for next year, I wonder if it could still happen with the Dodgers. Now that it might seem like Baltimore could be out of it. Maybe. It's going to get interesting. It's going to get spicy. And I'm very intrigued to see what the Orioles do here in the next couple of days. I don't think they're done. They've made a couple of moves here. I don't know. I just feel like there's something else in the tank. Maybe that could be, I know they added, Dominguez, but could they maybe go get a closer like you're saying here, Con Man, right? So I'm sorry. I don't trust Kimbrel. I don't. I know, because I went through heart attack after heart attack, not really, in 2018, watching Kimbrel pitch in the postseason. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. I think the Orioles might have another move. Could that be Skubal? I don't know. I've said Skubal like a million times. I'm done. Everyone, thank you for the super chats tonight. Everyone, really do appreciate that. Thank you for stopping by tonight. I know Jim Ballcap Sports, I know he's live, so go raid his stream. Tell him I sent you. He always sends people over this way. And let's do him a favor tonight. I believe he went live not too long ago. Head on over. Go see what's going on in his stream. Go see what he has to say for tonight. Is he live? Let me actually double check here. Let's see. Is he live? He is live right now. He's got about 150 people. So head on over there. Tell him I sent you. But everyone, thank you for stopping by tonight. Make sure to check out the 2 videos that I posted today. Check out any other videos I've been posting over the last week or so. Everyone, I will be probably live again tomorrow night. There will be more rumors to talk about tomorrow night. So have that notification bell turned on. Make sure you're ready to go. We will be live here on Tuesday to talk the trade deadline. We will be live all day. Probably going to be starting up bright and early in the morning. It's our yearly trade deadline stream. It's going to be fun, everyone. Everyone, go have yourself a good rest of your night. Go enjoy your Friday night. Go do something tomorrow. Get out there. Go enjoy some time with some friends, some family, whatever it may be. Go to the gym. Get away from your phone, but don't go too far because you never know what could break. And make sure you're keeping an eye out for what we're doing here over on the channel. And again, be ready for Tuesday. We will be live all day on Tuesday. Everyone, have yourself a great night, and I'll talk to you next time.